Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Afternoon.
Where are you located?
I'm in South Africa.
Okay,
That's Jamaican.
I was gonna say that's Jamaica.
Yeah.
We have this world country flag game that we were playing over the weekend, and I missed that one. I was like, I think it's Jamaica, and then I second guessed myself. But now I know.
Now I know. Now you know exactly. I've just seen I've logged in at myself, so I just have to log out real quick as moderator. I'll be right with you.
The dramatic re-entry with a cat.
Yeah. Perfect. So I'll hand it over to you.
We'll wait for the top of the hour. Still a few more seconds.
Oh, yes.
It is the top of the hour for certain values of time zones, the bottom of the hour for others. It is Tuesday where I'm at, and a warm salutations. Welcome to the support group conversation. My name is Lyle Kozloff. I'm the interim senior support engineering manager, located in beautiful, sunny Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. There are no questions in the doc, and that is a dangerous place for me, folks, because things get wild when people don't ask me questions. Last time I started asking all of you questions, and I don't even know. So let's get some questions. Let's get some discussion. I can wait you out. We can call it.
Hey Lyle, this is Tom. Thanks for leading. All the silence and your egging people on made me nervous, so I had to speak up. But thanks for leading us. Can we just kind of help people understand what we're trying to do? I think there's a slide. I'll dig out the number, but around the links and how we're trying to track to the various links we're doing there, whether it be docs or MRs or handbook. Speaking specifically to number 6, and kind of help people understand how we're trying to drive those numbers up.
Sure. Do you have anything in particular that you want to cover?
Just the efforts that I think we're trying to, one, there's an element to it that is workflow and process and making sure we can identify what we're linking to and who is doing the linking. Kind of the mechanics behind that. I don't know if Ilya is in a better spot, but I think a lot of folks know how, a lot of folks don't know how the intricacies are working, but also what we're trying to get out of the effort of measuring those elements, those links.
Ilya, would you like to speak to that?
Thanks, I'll do my best. So we have been trying to measure the amount of documentation that we've been sharing with our customers in an attempt to kind of measure the deflection rate that we can help with. So in general, what we have been attempting to do is to see how many links we are sharing with our customers through our communications. And we believe that it's always better to share a documentation link or a handbook link or create one. So to make sure that our customers can follow up on what we have provided them. in order to get to that, we have created a few features in our Zendesk to make sure that we can filter out and see which kind of documents our customers are getting from us. On the other hand, we have been attempting also to try to enumerate which type of documentations we have been sharing with our customers. And on another end, we have been doing our efforts to try to increase the amounts of documentations and handbook updates that we have been creating to facilitate those kinds of behaviors. Questions?
Thanks, Ilya. And by slide 6, I meant slide 8.
Stella, I see you typing. Are you taking notes for us, or would you like to ask a question?
I'm trying to take notes, but
Okay.
I've got access to the docs. I'm a little bit behind. If anyone else wants to help, you're welcome.
I'll type this in just a second. I know support did a, a virtual pizza party recently. I'm curious how that went and what you would do differently as more parts of the company try to emulate the same virtual celebration.
Yeah, great question. We did do one. We actually did it before it was cool to do them. We did it back in October, and we actually have a blog about it. Let me find the link for that. In general, I think that it went pretty well. It was asynchronous, and so it was really fun to watch pictures pour in for 24 hours. It made me hungry for pizza well before it was time to eat pizza. And so we actually have another one planned, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do it a little bit differently. What I would really like to do is have everyone take a set of ingredients, something like some kitchen basics, something like onions, potatoes, some sort of protein, and then have everyone do a remix of that, like make a dish from your culture, from your home. And I'd like to see like a blog post with like recipes and pictures of what folks have made.
Like an episode of Chopped?
Sorry? Chopped?
Like an episode of Chopped? Like there's a Food Network show where they give people 4 ingredients and then you have like half hour to cook.
Yeah, exactly. And so if that doesn't fly with the support team, then I'm going to take it to the cooking channel. But I think that would be a really fun thing to do. In terms of tactics for the pizza party, I don't think that there was anything particularly special. Just making sure that you have a thread and you're documenting, and yeah, use the pizza emoji a lot.
Thanks, Lyle.
Hey Lyle, Joe Drumcher here, Pacific Northwest Cell. On slide number 6, I'm drawn to the disparity between the SLA achievement between premium and ultimate self-hosted and silver and gold for .com. Just curious if you can provide some color on maybe some of the difficulties in achieving a higher SLA for .com versus self-hosted.
That's a great question. So historically in support, we were divided by product. We had a .com team and we had a self-managed team. Back in December, we started the process of coalescing those teams, taking sort of the buyer-based open core model and extending that into support and saying that it's not like how you consume GitLab that matters, it's what you're consuming in GitLab. And so there is still some historical artifacts about who was the .com team and who has the access to do support on .com, and that team is still a little bit smaller. So we're working on figuring out how to get everyone equipped to be able to do support on .com. There are some special needs for .com customers. One of them being sort of .com customers assume that you have access to their repository data, to all the settings. And so that means at present, we need admin access. I think that anybody from security, if I said right now, we want everyone on the support team to have admin access on .com, they would throw tomatoes at me, rightfully so. And so that's the kind of piece that we're working on right now, is figuring out how we can extend do support for .com in a world where not everyone has admin access. And so that, I think, is where we've seen some of the falls, is it's just staffing globally. So that's actually one of my OKRs for the quarter. I will grab a link for that. But we've noticed that, and that's something that we definitely want to bring up into alignment. That's sort of the negative answer. The positive answer, though, is on the sort of the premium and ultimate side. We've had a really, really great team playing two specific roles. We have a couple of folks in each region each week who do a role called FRT Hawk. Their sole job is to get out first replies within SLA times. And so that role has been really successful. We also have a role called SLA Hawk. So if there's any tickets that don't have an assignee or somebody who's taking care of them, then it's their job to make sure that the team's alerted and we get those next replies out. That's also been really successful. So both our next reply time and first reply time have gone way up. So I think it's kind of showing like those two factors, one smaller team, one really good process, has sort of widened the gap to make it look larger than it might have been. Does anybody from the support team have anything else they'd like to add?
I put this in the doc, but for anyone who's unaware, just to give you a bit of extra context, the quote unquote GitLab.com team is probably about a dozen people out of 70 ICs. So we do have a lot more staffing on the self-managed side.
Sid, it looks like you've got the next question.
Yeah, I wonder what an MVC for using GitLab Service Desk would look like. And it's triggered by, I saw that we made a support uploader. I don't think that's has anything to do with GitLab. So maybe that's, I see Zendesk tokens and stuff like that. So maybe that's not a good MVC, but are we thinking about it? Like long term, we got to use our own product. So what is the roadmap to there, and what's the first step?
Yeah, it's something that definitely I've thought about a lot. I would say sort of the MVC that we have right now is the way that we handle GDPR requests. So any GDPR requests right now go to a GitLab Service Desk, and we're using the workflows within a GitLab Service Desk to make sure that those are processed. And that's working fairly well. I would say one of the larger blockers that we have would be that we have to have separate issues for communicating with the client and with the team internally. So we have somebody writes in saying, I want to delete my account. We have to then create a separate issue to make sure that we're removing them from all of the different systems and leaving the issue where they communicated through Service Desk open. And then once those are all completed, going through that other issue.
So you can't have like a confidential comment?
That's right. There is an open issue for that. I think we were doing some design exploration. I can try and track that down, but that would be very helpful.
If that's stuck on design exploration, can we just do an ugly version of it first?
That's not a question that I can answer, but sounds good to me.
Is there someone in the support team who wants to take that on?
Mm-hmm. I don't hear any volunteers, but we can take it back to the team.
Yeah, like be great to like be able to improve your own product, the product you have to use every day. Like, so everyone can contribute. So it's not necessary to wait for design. It's not necessary to wait for the PM. Support needs a feature. It's not your job, so it's not part of your OKRs. Although we can make it part of the OKRs. That's something for Tom to consider. But I'd love if we have identified the thing we need, let's add it to the product.
I would say one other potential blocker in sort of the long term is availability. So how do you support GitLab if GitLab.com goes down? And that one, that feels dangerous.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all to run support on GitLab.com. So for operations, they have their own server. So you could use either that server or have your own server for support.
Yeah.
So the idea is to use GitLab, the product. The idea isn't necessarily to use GitLab.com.
Fair enough.
I like this question. Thank you for asking it. This is actually something I've answered a few times now, and there's not a good or official answer as to why we are using Zendesk instead of GitLab, the product, and Service Desk. I do think right now with the integrations and reporting functionality that Zendesk is kind of an efficiency and results fix, but I really like the idea of adding things to Service Desk that support would need, so we can kind of switch over to dog fooding our own product for providing support. And with the support uploader, I think that solves two problems. And this is something possibly we could integrate into Service Desk. Essentially, one is providing large files to customer support. Zendesk has a 20 megabyte limit. I'm not sure what the limit is for Service Desk, but sometimes there can be files up to a gigabyte in size or more. And getting these to support in a efficient or official way is difficult. And the other thing is, right now, the access control for the customer uploaded files is limited to built-in functionality in Zendesk. And there's not particularly a least privileges way to set access control permissions for these customer files. So Zendesk Lite agents can download the files that customers upload. And if they don't need to do that in their role, then the support uploader would kind of provide an additional layer of access control on top of that to ensure only people who need to see these files have access to them.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think the uploader I'm not 100% sure about, but I think making confidential comments and moving from GitLab.com to ops.GitLab, the ops server, those make total sense to me as things. Otherwise, you'd always be hesitant to use it because it's going down at the moment you need it most.
I want to say Ronan, if I'm remembering right, is actually working on something to kind of remove some of the limitations from the Zendesk file attachment using S3 and having access control and things like that. It would also enable us to have like scripts we can run on logs to have pre-analyzers and stuff like that. I believe that's something he's working on. I'll grab the issue and add it to the doc later though.
Tom, any ideas?
I have a lot of ideas, but I'm just wondering if we're delving into an area that Zendesk provides us a lot of, I think, scalability, but also ability to, I think, manage a very distributed customer base in a consolidated fashion. So it's kind of the sales force for supporting customers, and that's kind of how we've been trying to expand in how we use Zendesk. And I appreciate that the Service Desk is a component of GitLab, and happy to look at like you say, iterate on it and potentially improving how we're supporting their .com customers, and seeing how we can expand it. If if it gets to a point where it has the flexibility, we can create the flexibility that Zendesk provides us. Then yeah, I think we should look at. We can minimize that Zendesk cost, but I think there's just a lot of benefit in using Zendesk today for the number of capabilities that it brings to us. So, and as Greg and Jason were talking about, the support uploader is the approach at trying to address the 20 megabyte capability of Zendesk uploads. So. We'll take it back and kind of work through it with the support team and see how we can move our way towards leveraging more of the Service Desk.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize that it's not about what we pay Zendesk. That is not That is not what we're trying to solve for. The reason we dog food is not to save costs on software licenses. The reason we dog food is because then we have an incentive to make our own product better. And if we have a better product, we'll be a more successful company. So that's the goal. It's not to save on licenses. It's to make sure that we make our own product better.
Yeah, I understand that. I think the question though is are we focusing our efforts on something specific for GitLab and for GitLab customers to be able to use, and then are thus we kind of entering the competitive area of the Zendesks of the world and building a service desk specific for GitLab customers or for specific for GitLab customer solutions that are built on GitLab or through GitLab.
Yeah, so long term, GitLab Service Desk should be a Zendesk replacement. So yes, we've entered that competitive field. And it's not a question of if, but when. And the answer to that is sooner, please. So the sooner we can get there, the better.
Great. I did want to point everyone, I linked to an issue where we discussed this, and it's not the best discussion, but I think that it does kind of lay it out a bit more clearly than we might have. So there are a few other potential blockers that need to get built into the product on this one. But if there's no more discussion on this topic, Sid, I think you have the next question as well.
Yeah, do we have support people who still have SSH access to GitLab.com servers? And if so, why?
SSH access, no. Console access, yes. Console access is because there's certain situations where, for example, we rolled out soft delete recently, and there are customers that sometimes write in asking us to override that soft delete and delete immediately. And there's other just investigations that we need to do. I needed to run a report for a large customer yesterday, and it was more efficient to do it through the console than it would have been to do through the API. In fact, it wouldn't have been possible through the API.
Yeah,
So,
are we kind of recording those instances and making sure that we add that functionality to GitLab over time so that we can get it down to almost zero at some point?
yeah, it's definitely something that we're very interested in doing. Recording instances, yes. Are we doing a great job of then building the issues to make sure that we never have to do it again? I would have to say sometimes. So that's something that we could certainly improve on.
And where's the record of these instances?
Yeah, so we have a .com internal tracker inside of support. You can see the issues there. Anything with an SE escalation label will be one of the ones that probably required console access. I will put a link in the doc once Stella finishes typing.
Cool, thanks. Edmund, that's the next one.
Thank you. So some customers have suffered production issues due to the recent key updates. Want to find out if we have a mechanism to notify customers of breaking disruptive changes so that they can look into this in advance. Yeah, I saw that there is a blog post, but subscribing to the blog post is a lot of noise. And we've heard from others, in our prior lives and other organizations where if there's specifically something that's breaking or a production impacting change, that there could be a proactive notification of customers to reduce the number of calls coming in. Not everybody reads every blog post or release note. So just calling special attention to things that can break things.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, Edmund. This is a really good point. And to be completely honest, I also missed the blog post, and this caught me off guard. Yesterday, I went to upgrade a self-managed GitLab instance, and I faced this issue myself. And that's what led me to the blog post instead of the other way around. As soon as I found this out, I did communicate to support self-managed team and the community advocates that this is happening. You will see an error trying to upgrade GitLab with apt or yum. And I posted the fix, but I do think that some communication would have been great. I also have been, as soon as I found out, I've been watching the forum and the support ticket queue, and I was surprised how few tickets and forum posts there actually were regarding this. So I would say if we do have anybody facing this issue where they can't upgrade because of the GPG issue, please do have them create a support ticket. There are fixes, and we'd be happy to help them through it. It's an easy fix, but I do think communication beforehand, both internally and externally, could have been helpful in this case.
Another recent example would be the Cloudflare change. We had some feedback there that could have been better communicated out initially, but it is challenging, isn't it? Finding the right scope of folks for whom these changes affect. Sending out an email to 4.5 million people, we've discovered in the past, is also not the right solution. So, yeah, Greg, do we have an issue?
No, not that I'm aware of for this one.
Okay. I thought that I saw an issue come across my desk yesterday, so I'll try and track that down, Edmund, and I'll send that along to you. But yeah, figuring out the scope is something that we as a company need to figure out.
Okay, thanks.
Anthony.
Yeah, so just in terms of what content people are being referred to when they are getting referred, or just in general, what are the top areas that currently get the most questions to support these days?
Support team. Do you have any good answers to this?
I will point out that, sorry, I just closed the slides. There's this slide where I think we talk about the improved efficiency around linking to docs and reviewing the top, I think it's 25, I believe, docs that we link to from our tickets. So if you go look at that issue, then there is a list. There's actually a fairly large spreadsheet with a report. I think that's gives you some idea, at least, of a lot of the topics that we get asked about. Obviously there's some differences between what you'll get asked about in GitLab.com, kind of on the SaaS side versus self-managed, just because, as you all know, .com, you don't have instance or admin access or access to console or anything like that. So there is that. But I think that list gives you a pretty good idea. And I would say, just even taking a quick look at it again, CI/CD is a very high, asked topic. We do get a lot of questions around Kubernetes. I don't know what else. I would say packages in general. We get a lot of questions about too. And a lot of these are, to me, I would say often it's because it can be difficult to understand where the problem lies. Is it a GitLab issue, or is it an issue with how they configured something, or how they wrote their script, and that sort of thing. And that's often where, when they have difficulty, they do often come to us first. And then we have to kind of dig through it ourselves to kind of help determine, is it a GitLab issue or is it something else?
Thanks for that, Cynthia. We are at time, 1 minute over, so apologies for that. Thank you all for joining. It was a slower start, but have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.